This is the Crowdcrux Crowdfunding Podcast with Sal Briggman, where we cover everything you need to know to launch a successful crowdfunding campaign. We speak with proven entrepreneurs who've raised money from the crowd and want to teach you how to do the same. Stay tuned because we're about to reveal how to launch your dream project with your host, Sal Briggman.
Before we get started with this podcast episode, I want to take a second to introduce you to my friends at Fulfillrite. If you need help shipping out your Kickstarter or Indiegogo perks or rewards, Fulfillrite is the absolute best company for you. I've been working with them for a while and I can vouch for their services. They make it dead simple and take all of the headache out of shipping out all of those boxes, all of those orders to your backers and your customers. If you want to check them out, go to fulfillrite.com at fulfillrite.com. What up, crowdfunders? Welcome to 2019. I hope you had a great holiday with your friends and family, whether you celebrate Christmas or some other holiday. I also hope that you had a great New Year's Eve. It was a rainy New Year's Eve in New York City. Just literally pouring sheets and sheets of rain. So I spent that New Year's Eve inside watching the ball drop on the television. I'm super amped up and excited for a lot of the goals that I have for myself in 2019. And I also hope that for you, when it comes to crowdfunding, when it comes to launching a new business, a new product, that you are also excited. This is a new year. This is a new beginning. And literally anything is possible. I've seen people who have no kind of audience whatsoever online. They end up launching a crowdfunding campaign. They get a ton of backers, a ton of funding. And from that experience, they then will have an online business that's doing 6 or 7 figures. And they can quit their job and they can do that full time. And it's so inspirational to see some of these stories. And what I've tried to do for you in 2018 is to basically go through and catalog many of these experiences. I've had so many incredible people on the show in 2018, tons of people who have raised money successfully on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and also in other areas with nonprofit crowdfunding, with real estate crowdfunding, a whole host of different avenues and sort of ways that you can get funding online. And my goal for you with this show, as always, is to basically expose you to success stories. I find that when you see someone else very similar to you who has about the same amount of resources and the same level of hustle, able to accomplish something, able to accomplish and execute on their goals, it's hella inspiring. It's really freaking inspiring, man. And also just listening to some of the stories of these founders and how passionate they are about getting a product out there into the world, impacting hundreds, thousands, millions of people. It really makes me honestly want to come to work every single day and want to continue to produce quality educational content for you. And to make sure that as you're going out there, going into your first fundraising campaign, maybe your second campaign, maybe even your third campaign on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, that you are armed with the tools, the strategies, and the know-hows to absolutely kill it, to knock it out of the park, and of course to come back onto my show, or at least shoot me an email and let me know about your accomplishments. So today's podcast episode, I wanted to get into one of the students who I've been working with in 2018 who ended up raising over $50,000 on Indiegogo. And this is for Hupnos, which is basically a self-learning sleep mask, and it helps to stop snoring. So this product, we're going to get into what went into the launch of this campaign, why they chose Indiegogo, how you can replicate their success, some of the things that worked for them to get pledges, and some of the things that honestly they wish they had done a little bit better. I hope that you learned from some of these lessons. And also I think Kathleen is an incredible leader on the team, incredible way that she's been able to build the team around this project. So you'll also get some leadership lessons there. Before we get into today's podcast episode, if you have not yet scheduled a coaching call with me and it's the start of the new year and you want to start the new year off right, you want to make sure that you're actually going to execute on this project, you also want to get your ducks in a row, make sure you're doing everything correctly. And finally, you really want to have an explosive launch. I don't think we just want to obviously raise the amount of money that we're going to say. We really want to have something that's explosive, something that makes a bang, something that is shared online via social media, something that creates a little bit of a ripple, if you know what I mean. So if you're interested in starting off the new year right, you can go to this link and schedule a coaching call with me. That link is crowdcrux.com/coaching. That is crowdcrux.com/coaching. I'm looking forward to talking with you, man. I think this is going to be a stellar year, not only for crowdfunding, but also for some of these more niche categories. Like tabletop games grew so much this past year. It's insane. I was doing a blog article on some of the statistics there of like different categories that have been growing with crowdfunding. It still just blows my mind. The ease of capital, the way that anyone out there literally can gather a crowd and can do it now for honestly, not too big of an investment. And that there's now all that education out there, which is part of my role, I think, in the community, to put that out there for you and to make this whole process a lot easier. So lastly, that link is crowdcrux.com/coaching. Hope you enjoyed today's podcast episode. It's coming up right after this. Kathleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sal. It's great to be here. I am very excited to share with you the learnings that I've had as I've advised the Hupnos team. So Hupnos is the world's first self-flirting sleep mask to stop snoring. So it focuses specifically on snoring, this condition of snoring. And it analyzes and corrects you or your sleep partner's snoring patterns so that you wake up in the morning feeling like $1,000,000. And there's two active components to the mask. There's the sleep mask itself, and then there's the smartphone app. And so the smartphone app is listening and analyzing your snoring patterns during the night. And when it hears a pattern of snoring, it'll either initiate a gentle vibration to get you to roll onto your side. And then if you continue to snore, it will activate an EPAP, which is not a CPAP, it's an EPAP, an expiratory positive airway pressure. So that increases the exhalation pressure to stop you from snoring. So we're super excited about this. And as you can tell, we're almost at $50,000 raised.
Congrats.
Which is, 243% of our goal. So in just over, a month. So that's fantastic.
So let me ask you a question. How did you meet Curtis? Because I know Curtis is sort of the brains, the innovator here behind the Hupnos sleep mask. And you really took on the role of marketing this project and running it for him. How did you meet Curtis, and why did he come up with this new product, this idea that solves that problem?
So Curtis is a serial entrepreneur, and he's had many successful exits in the past, but nothing like this in the consumer healthcare space. And I met him through a woman who was on one of his financial teams from a previous company. And she's the financial expert. And she knew Curtis for many, many years and knew that he was looking to bring this product to market, and knew that I specialize in marketing for consumer healthcare and medical device companies, and thought that it would be the perfect marriage. So I started talking to Curtis about a year and a half ago, just informally. And, he told me about his idea, because this product has been in development for, kind of in the garage and skunk work sort of thing for a couple of years. And then I got more involved when he was ready to, take it out and show the world. Mm-hmm. And then I was an informal advisor for a while. And then I became more official over the summer period.
Now, can I ask you kind of like a dumb question here? Like, sure. Is snoring, I don't understand. Like, you think of snoring when you're like you're younger, and it doesn't really cross your mind. But I know that this is actually a really big problem, particularly for productivity, for getting long-lasting sleep. If your significant other snores, that means you have a horrible night's sleep. You can't go to work the next day. Why do you think this is such a big problem for people out there?
Well, I mean, it certainly is an epidemic. And I'm sure you've seen, if you watch any of the major TV morning shows, there's always something about, how to improve your sleep. And Ariana Huffington wrote a book on it about sleep. So it's something that affects everyone, and sleep hygiene is really important. And snoring, which affects over half the population, can, if you're in a room with someone else, can affect their sleep as well. So not only will you wake yourself up, but potentially you can wake up your sleep partner. And so to get back to why Kurt did this, he has suffered from snoring for many, many years, and his wife, it really was becoming a problem. So much so, and he has admitted this. I mean, so I'm not sharing anything private here, but he spent lots of nights couch surfing, and I don't mean like millennial couch surfing. I mean, you're out on the couch. So he's like, you know what, there's got to be a better way. So that's his engineering brain kicks in, and he started tinkering with it, and then realized that there are lots of people who suffer from this condition. And, we've talked to some certainly medical experts, and one doctor in particular who's at Stanford, Dr. Leah Milheiser, she has told us that this is one of the major complaints of her female patients is sleep and lack of sleep, and how it affects all areas of their life. And snoring obviously can be one reason for why they're not sleeping well. So she's very, very excited to see how this all plays out.
Well, you know what they say, happy wife, happy life, So
I would say important. Both sides of that coin are true. Absolutely.
So when it comes to crowdfunding, because I know crowdfunding is something that's newer for you and your team, when did this idea of crowdfunding this product come into the picture? Because there are a lot of ways you can get this out there to consumers. When did that enter the picture, and why did you go with Indiegogo?
So Kurt and I started talking about this last summer, so I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago, and evaluated both platforms. And I know there are more than two, but the two big ones are Indiegogo and Kickstarter. And he actually went to one of the Indiegogo sort of boot camp sort of thing, and because he really wanted to dig in and see what it involved. And we talked a lot about it and felt that he was not so much looking for how to start a company or the production side of it, because he knows that. And there are those resources at Indiegogo and I'm sure Kickstarter that help people who've never done it before. But what he needed to do was get his message out broadly to and quickly to a group of people that would be interested in being the first users, and certainly users that are inclined to give feedback and know that that's part of the process. And felt that Indiegogo, of the two that he looked at, fit his profile of what he was looking for best. So once that was done, then we committed to, okay, and there's a lot of helpful resources, like, working back from the launch of your campaign date, all the things that you need to do. I mean, I'm a classically trained marketer, and my company is a marketing practice. So these are the tools that we use every day. But it was good to see that they're teaching people to do the same sort of things. Just the medium this time around happens to be very focused on social media channels.
I'm definitely not a classically trained marketer.
Yeah.
How would you say that, for you, the marketing of this campaign and the pre-launch, how is that different from doing I guess traditional product launch? How is it different?
So I think it was just, and it was a good learning, because I didn't realize how important it is, and I know you've mentioned this to me before, how important it is, especially with the first wave, the initial first wave, to get the friends and family activated and get those networks activated, and even reach out to people who have broader social networks that might be looser on your friend network than your best friend who doesn't even have a Facebook account or Instagram or whatever it is, right? Because that was something new for me. I mean, all the important things about, what's the consumer insight, what's the benefits, what are the reasons to believe, are you being clear in your communications? All of those are the same, and that's for any product. And I would also say it's a lot more visual than it is text information consumed in that way. So visual as in photos, also as in videos. It's much more heavily weighted towards that way to communicate your message effectively.
I think that's also something that surprises a lot of people out there, because you think crowdfunding, you think, oh man, it's going to be awesome to have a bunch of strangers that are supporting your campaign. And that it's true, but you have to first get that family and friends on board, or you at least have to get an initial email list of people that are dedicated and committed to sort of jumpstart that process, Well,
and I think people nowadays, especially with so much advertising being bombarded at them, and everywhere they go, every medium, word of mouth and credibility is super important. And I trust the people that I know the closest best, or even people that, I would trust somebody that I know by 2 degrees of separation versus someone I've never met. And that's where, when you're at 0% funded, look at it, it's a big old goose egg, and you're like, okay, who's going to be the first person? And then it's just, the whole idea of crowdfunding, right? If I see that there's 30 people who've put down their $115 or whatever it happens to be, I'm more likely to if I'm attracted to the offer, to put down my $115. And so that's where your friends and family are going to help you to get from zero to whatever that initial percentage is in the first 72 hours, I think is the most important.
It's
to
the
get
good
that
old
started.
social proof, as they say in marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the questions I had for you was on this idea of a pre-launch. When you think of like a pre-launch, you think of sort of warming people up to the idea that you're going to be launching something, and then it attacks this problem that they suffer from in their life. In this case, snoring. I know that you guys did a pre-launch in terms of gathering emails and such. What were your thoughts on how that pre-launch went, and would you have done anything differently?
Yes, it was a great learning, and I'm happy to share. I'm happy that you asked that question. So when we did pre-launch for many months beforehand, not many months, a couple of months beforehand, they were offering on Facebook. There was a contest to see for people. The ad was focused on people who snore, or do you have someone in your life who snores? And if you enter the contest, you could potentially win a sleep mask, a Hupnos sleep mask. And the list was growing and growing, and I was like, okay, this is great. But I was concerned about the call to action, because if I'm signing up and giving you my email for the potential to win something, and then I don't win, although there were legitimate winners and we did advertise who they were, I don't know how strong, and it proved out that it was not as strong as we had hoped, that we could convert those people to Indiegogo backers. So I would say I would spend more time and effort in gathering an initial list. And they say the conversion is a couple of percentage points. I think both of the crowdfunding campaigns say you can expect 2 to 5% or 3 to 5% off your initial list. And I would put a caveat there. It depends on the quality of your list.
Exactly.
If your list is a bunch of contest potential winners, that's going to be in the low single digits, versus if you've built up a conversation with these people, like asking them questions about, how often does this disrupt your sleep over the course of a week or a month? Can you rate, your sleep quality? If you were to design a mask, what would you pick would be the most important things? Would it be the softness, whatever that was, it washability, and start a conversation, get these people thinking about it, but without bombarding them with 1,000 emails, because then they're just going to unsubscribe and be like, leave me alone. So it's a delicate balance. And I'm sure it will depend on, every product is different and every consumer target that you're going after is different. So I mean, like classic marketing, know your target audience, right?
I had to interrupt this podcast episode because I want to introduce you to my friends at The Gadget Flow. Their product discovery platform reaches 22 million people per month. They've helped more than 5,000 crowdfunding campaigns thus far, and they have a social media following of more than 700,000 followers. If you want to gain access to their marketplace and list your own product, you can go to thegadgetflow.com/submit and list your project today.
Who are you going after? And Kurt and I have had many conversations about this. Pick a target and go after that target. Don't go after everybody, because then you're going after nobody. Pick a target, be very clear. And that means saying no to other things, which is fine for now. You can't boil the ocean in a day. And clearly go after that target. And the nice thing about Facebook advertising and even Google ads is even now they've changed all the algorithms, you can still focus on some major areas that are important to your target audience.
Yeah,
and get good quality feedback.
You can be hyper targeted, definitely, but I think that's a really important lesson, because it's so difficult to actually create a qualified lead, or someone who suffers from the problem. They also have money and want to spend it on the solution. They also believe in the solution. I think there's a lot to be said for having qualified leads. It's a lot harder, I think, than people think, because you just think big numbers. Like, it'd be great if I had 10,000 people on an email list, but if those people aren't qualified leads, they're not going to become backers. It's very frustrating, I think.
And I would say the next time I do it, I would spend a lot more time and effort on that front end part of it, and still assume you have good messaging and you've got a clear target. But really, that's where, if you do the work up front, you're going to be more successful faster, which then you get that, social proof, which then other people will come on faster. So where it might have taken us a bit longer than I would have liked to get to an initial hurdle, we had to spend more on Facebook to get the traffic in. Now, the good thing was, and I was really proud of this, because our messaging and our targeting was so good, and Indiegogo told us that we had double the conversion rate of all the other, the average of their campaigns. And so that was fantastic for us. We're like, look, when we target the people and we get them in, they're converting really well. It's just, how do we get more of those qualified leads? So that's where I'd spend more of my time.
Yeah, I mean, you created the perfect butterfly net, where it's converting really high. People love the product. It's just about finding those people, it seemed. So I have some other questions here about sort of the secret sauce behind you being able to raise more than $48,000 here. But before we get into that, I had a quick question. Like, for you as a marketer and also, as a female entrepreneur, as a female business owner, you really have done a great job, I think, with this project. What have you enjoyed most when it comes to this campaign or getting this message out there to people?
So I have my career background has always been in marketing and sales, and I've done a bit in clinical and regulatory as well because of the medical device side. But the thing that I love most is bringing together different groups of people on a team and getting them focused on a goal. And in this particular case, I utilized lots of different resources and outsourced different pieces of the project to get the best people on the team, people who knew the most about how to create great digital marketing campaigns, a PR team who I've worked with for years who knows consumer healthcare, a really good videographer who specializes in Indiegogo campaign crowdfunding type videos, working with you and all the knowledge that you've brought, as well as the engineers and the experts on the product side of it. So I've enjoyed bringing all of those together and sort of being the field general and trying to move the troops and reach our goal of overfunding, which we've done and we're very pleased with.
So I guess what you're referring to is leadership, like the ability to lead others and to assemble this team of people that are passionate about the product and the vision.
Yeah, and I say, you can lead from in front and you can lead from behind, and it's understanding who does things the best and just letting them shine and run with it. Don't hold people back. If somebody says, look, I've done this 5 times before and I would highly recommend that you do it this way, you listen to them, even if it's not what you would do. But if you've never done it before, rely on your resources. I always say you get what you pay for. And if you're paying good money for somebody's advice, really listen to them. And unless there's something counter that, legally or whatever would put you in a jam, you should go with it. So, yeah, and as you know, Sal, I'm very goal oriented and keeping everybody on track. So that's a little bit of an art and a little bit of a science, setting the right expectations and making sure that people are clear on what they're supposed to do and when, because especially when you're dealing with teams of people who are all over the place, and that's pretty much the world we live in today, you need to make sure that if I say I'm going to do X and you're going to do Y and I'm the long pole, that I'm living up to my end of the agreement. And if not, I'm clearly and quickly communicating to you so we can adjust and make new plans. And that's what it's all about, right? If you're on a campaign, nothing's ever going to go like you originally planned. It's how you adjust and adapt is whether you're going to be successful or wildly successful.
How is it that you learned leadership? Did you have a boss in your life who really had an impact? Did you read books on leadership? Did it come naturally to you? How did you actually learn how to do these different things? And as you say, like the art and the science of it.
Yeah, so I would say I'm an avid reader. I read all kinds of books, and I've always been teased because I read nonfiction mostly. So I'm always reading like books on business or leadership or psychology or whatever. But I did have early in my career, I worked for, you probably didn't remember this, but Motorola in the original days of cell phones, right?
Yep.
And I was lucky at a very young age to be put on an expat assignment in Asia. So I was sent out as a female businesswoman when I was about 25 to Singapore to set up an office in Singapore and then an office in Beijing, China. And I think because it was sink or swim, I just swam very hard, and I had the support back in the States of a really fantastic mentor and boss who this gentleman was he was a spitfire, and he set really high expectations. He was very clear, and he was also appreciative of when you did something that and he would let you know, but not in a way that was inauthentic. I think authenticity is really important. People know that when you are appreciative of what they do, that you say thank you. A lot of times when I've led teams, it's more about showing your appreciation in the little ways, as well as the big. But the little ones are what get you through the day to day. When, if somebody needs to do a little extra work and you stay and help out, those are the things that people remember,
Totally.
and will create a good, cohesive team environment.
Totally. I also think in life, you get thrown these projects, or if you're gearing up for a campaign, it's really that opportunity to grow, to not only learn about new things and new concepts, but also grow as a leader, to assemble a team. The cool thing about crowdfunding is it almost is like its own deadline in and of itself. You have to get ready for the project, creates a tremendous amount of urgency, pull together all of the assets. It's exciting. It is also terrifying to a certain degree. It's a really fun experience. So one of the things I wanted to sort of get to here also was for you. I mean, you guys have had more than 400 people who have supported and backed this campaign that suffer from having different sleeping problems, from snoring, and they've really now rallied around this solution. What has worked for you when it comes to driving traffic and getting pledges and really accelerating that meter here? Like, what was responsible for some of the bumps in the campaign and also the consistent growth in pledges for the project?
So initially, although not as high as I would like, it's definitely friends and family that got us off the goose egg for sure. And then we relied pretty heavily on Facebook ads that were targeted, as we talked about, to the target audience. And I think we're now, if I break it down, and then Indiegogo. So in terms of sources of backers, Indiegogo was about 30%, Facebook was about 60%, and then others call it, rounds out the other 10%. And we got a couple of bumps that were really nice. And I know exactly the dates because I know what happened. One specifically was an Indiegogo newsletter that we were included on. And it garnered like 2.5, 3x of what our normal daily rate was. So that was beautiful, sort of a thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And the reason we were included in that first one was Indiegogo has these algorithms that they utilize. And some of the backers that go into their newsletter are put in as a result of the algorithm. And remember I mentioned we had a conversion rate double of everybody else. Mm-hmm. That was the reason we were included on the first one. So that was like, hey, we're doing good stuff. But then the second one was based on us hitting our 100% funding goal, the 20,000. And we were included on a second newsletter there. Again, the bump was like 2.5 times what our normal daily rate. And wow. Then I'm really, and I'm excited because we're coming towards the end of our campaign. And one thing, the way this is structured is you set your original campaign date, and ours was 30 days, and you have one chance to extend your campaign for whatever period of time you want. So right before we hit our final date from the original, we extended by 2 weeks because we were like, this is great, let's keep it going. And we're now about to reach another goal that Indiegogo offers, more exposure, which is the 50,000 raise. And we're going to hit that, I'm sure today. Mm-hmm. So, and then you get another exposure through their social media posts because their network is massive and you want to tap into their network as much as possible and do everything you can to get into that. Because it's basically free advertising, right? I mean, you've done all this work. Why not take advantage of it when you can? So we kept really close communication with our Indiegogo contact person and, ensured that we were, okay, we're coming close. Are we going to get in? Are we going to, that sort of thing.
Totally. I think that's also one of the things I like about Indiegogo over Kickstarter is that there's way more hand-holding. In Kickstarter, you don't really get that level of, a contact person, someone who can help you out. They're not really as business-minded. While Kickstarter is a bit bigger of a platform, Indiegogo is way more like, okay, how can we both be successful here? We want to make sure that we get our fee and also that you're very successful. So they're kind of working with us, I think, a little bit more than you would with other platforms. And I have to say that every time I or one of my colleagues have asked our guys, Jake, a question, he's been very responsive. And if he didn't know, he'd go ask somebody else. So I agree with you. I do feel that they'll at least try and help you and answer your questions. And if they don't know, they'll say, hey, we don't have that data. And that's okay too, So what's next here? I mean, you guys have 8 days to go at the time we're talking. You're probably going to hit your 50K goal really quickly, your new one. What's next here? Like, where are you going to go? Are you going to go to in demand? Are you going to start to sell us on your site? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So yes, we're going to go into in demand, and we're very excited because we have been accepted into Consumer Electronics Show, CES, in January of 2019 into Eureka Park, which is where it's a special zone for startup companies. Because I don't know if you've ever been to CES, but it's absolutely massive. It's all the consumer electronic companies in the world. And so there's a special place where just startup companies go because, the media wants to see what's new and different. And so we've been accepted into that. So we're going to be there and, trying to get the word out about Hupnos, the sleep mask, and how we can help people with snoring. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're all excited.
Was that because of like the successful Indiegogo, or were you in contact with them beforehand? They just love the product?
It was before Indiegogo, but we did tell them of our plans. But we got the acceptance back in August because you have to apply.
Congrats,
and tell them what you're doing and all that. And I do know as well, Indiegogo is going to have a booth there too. So it'll be good because we'll be one of their proof points as to, hey, they did it, and now they're out there launching their product to the world.
Yeah, that is so awesome.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a really good opportunity too, just to get the word out there. And like you were saying, this is an epidemic, and having a product that actually solves this problem is going to make people happier.
Absolutely.
It now uses technology. You're going to have a happy wife or happy husband.
And there's one more important point for the marketers out there about CES. So Eureka Park is specifically for startup companies. I think you can't have had your product on the market for more than 6 months or something. But there's also a special event on the Sunday before the show opens, which this year happens to be January 6th, which is called Unveiled. And it's where the world media comes and the journalists can go by, and it's in a different area, but you basically are trying to get your interest with the media about your product. So we're also going to be there because that starts on Sunday night, and then the official show opens on Tuesday morning. So it gives them like a sneak peek.
That's smart. Yeah, that's really smart. Really taking all those advantages and those opportunities and pushing forward. Yeah, that's definitely really smart. So are you planning on doing like more crowdfunding campaigns? I know you have an agency that helps with marketing and such. Can you tell us a little bit about that, like who you help? I'm speaking to the crowdfunders in the audience who have already launched a Kickstarter campaign, or have actually even successfully run a campaign. And the reason is, I think you will understand this pain point most. And that is, when you finally do raise money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, the hardest part is not collecting the cash. The hardest part is shipping out all of those perks and rewards to your backers. It is a nightmare, my friends. It's a lot of spreadsheets, it's a lot of headache, and it's a lot of stress. That's why I recommend BackerKit. If you have not heard of BackerKit, they help you collect surveys, they help you collect data, and the entire fulfillment process is just so much easier and so many less spreadsheets when you use their software. You can check them out at backerkit.com and use CrowdCrux for a special discount.
Yeah, so my consulting practice, Malaspina Healthcare Marketing Ventures, or MHM Ventures for short, we focus on the nexus between consumer and professional marketing, or specifically consumer healthcare products. So I have a team of people who work with me, including a couple of nurses, and we are out there always trying to, work with companies who want to bring new technology, new solutions for consumers and patients to the world. So I'm happy to, typically though, I work with companies who are about to launch or have launched their products versus super, super early stage, and they're still in skunkworks, stealth mode. Because you don't need me until you want to talk to people about it, right?
Yeah, and also if you want it done right, and you want a serious marketing campaign, and you also have the wherewithal to be able to do that, the resources and such.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I said, you get what you pay for. So if you're looking for resources that have done it before, are professional, and understand, how to create a market, then I think it would be worth a conversation for sure.
Okay, I'll include a link to that in our show description. Where can people go to learn about where you are on In Demand?
I think the best way will be if you just go to Indiegogo homepage and search for Hupnos, Hupnos. it will pop up. There's no other product even close to that in name. So that's probably the easiest way.
Awesome. Well, it's been an incredible privilege to watch your leadership skills at work, also to work on the campaign page and to help out with that in any way, and also just bring some of my knowledge with crowdfunding. Like, it's been incredible. I think you guys have done a stellar job. And also, your initial goal to get this out there into the hands of people and for feedback and testing, I think you're realizing that goal as well. So congratulations on all fronts. It's been a privilege working with you. And I look forward to seeing how CES goes and also the next coming months after that.
Great. Well, thanks, Sal. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman, or Sal. Thank you so much for spending some time here with me today, educating yourself, learning about this incredible product and also this project that's done really well with their Indiegogo campaign. I hope that you took away some good lessons and strategies and tactics that you can apply to your own crowdfunding campaign launch. If you're ready to get started, you want to speak directly with me, and you want to do an intensive coaching session with Sal. You want to get into the nitty-gritty of your project, you want to outline sort of a launch plan, if you will, and also get into some of the resources that you can use, answer all of your questions, give you feedback on your video or what you have thus far for your project. I would love to do a coaching call with you. If you're interested, you can go to this link, crowdcrux.com/coaching. That is crowdcrux.com/coaching. Just give me a little bit of information about you and your project, and we can schedule that call and get that underway and start 2019 right. Dude, I am so excited for this year. A lot of great projects in the works, things that I'm planning, ways that I'm growing. And it's also just been a privilege this last year to work with so many incredible entrepreneurs. People who have, quite frankly, I think, are doing things way bigger than I am, are able to launch products that blow me away and then have passion and drive and skills that I think are just really admirable and really very respectable. You're going to see some of the episodes coming out in the next couple of weeks of some of these entrepreneurs, people that they have literally incredible achievements in their lifetime, and also the things that they're coming up with. It's just really cool to think that there's so much innovation coming into the world, and I think that's just going to even accelerate even faster this year. So you got to hop on that train. Crowdfunding is still very, very hot. Campaigns being raised successfully every single month. You can go on Kickstarter, you can go on Indiegogo, you can browse through my podcast. You can see some of the success stories. If you want to get started, the link is crowdcrux.com/coaching. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I will see you next time.